Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here. Now, unless you're new to the hobby of FPV, you have heard of the TBS Crossfire system. Crossfire, for those who don't know, is a radio link system. It operates around 900 megahertz and it allows your radio transmitter to communicate with your drone, your plane, or whatever else you have a Crossfire receiver attached to. There's a whole lot of discussion that's happened over the past several years about, how Crossfire works. What do you use for RSSI? Do you use the RSSI value from the Crossfire system? Do you use link quality from the Crossfire system? People have traded arguments back and forth. There's been good discussions back and forth on the topic, but nobody that I've seen has really broken down what each of these things mean. And so that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. I'm going to let you take a look at some DVR footage of a flight that I took and attempt to break down exactly what it is that the Crossfire system is telling you, so that you know when it's okay to keep pushing and hey, I should probably turn around right now. So let's dive it straight into this video and take a look at this flight, and hopefully by the end of it you'll have a better understanding of how Crossfire works. Okay, so let's take a look at this flight footage here. On this screen, you're looking at the OSD from the TBS Evo, and majority of it is dominated by a lot of GPS information. So the home arrow and the distance from home, total distance, altitude, satellites, things like that. Unfortunately, my little cable had come undone in the process of putting my battery strap on, but don't worry about that for this flight. It doesn't impact what we want to talk about. The main thing that I want to talk about in this video is found on the right-hand lower corner of this image. And so you'll see 10 milliwatt. That is your transmitter power output. You'll see this SNR 20 dB. This is the ratio of the signal from the transmitter to the noise floor, and 20 dB is quite good. I've paused it right here because this value comes in and out, and I wish that TBS would enable this as a menu option, like a radio button that you can turn on and off in the TBS Evo menu. But as it is, it doesn't have that capability. And so what you'll notice as you're flying with a TBS Evo and a Crossfire system is that as you get further away, this SNR value will suddenly show up. And if you're not expecting it, it can freak you out. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the flight. But for now, just know that it's a way that the system monitors the link quality health, okay? Below that, 267. This is your link quality. Some of you are probably used to the term RSSI, and that's kind of what this is, but it's actually not. So this is the TBS link quality, and it's at 267%. And 267% is another visual indicator that the Crossfire system uses to let the pilot know what mode of operation you're in, either 150 hertz or 50 hertz. So mode 1 is 150 and mode 2 is 50 hertz. You have the least latency, you have the best link quality when you're in mode 1. So anywhere between 100% and 300% is just an indicator that you have the best possible link quality, the best possible connection speed, between your transmitter and your receiver. So that is why TBS chooses to do this instead of just having a 0 to 100 scale. Now, they also have a 0 to 100 scale. Once you hit 50 hertz mode, it goes between 0 and 100%, and we'll talk about that a little more as this video rolls on. And then down below that is your actual antenna RSSI. So this is minus 76 dBm. I'm very close to myself. This changes as you get further away and as power changes. So let's hit play right now and watch what happens. So here we go. Hey, Brandon from the future here. I just wanted to clarify a few things before we moved on any further in this video. I've been having some conversations with some friends of mine who are very familiar with the Crossfire system and, in fact, who have taught me quite a lot about it. And one of the things that they've said that I haven't really clarified in this video is the significance of link quality in the 150 hertz and the 50 hertz modes. And in fact, they said that I really probably should talk about it a little bit more before the video goes any further. So that's what I'm going to do right now. 150 hertz and 50 hertz modes, and actually there's a 4 hertz mode, which is kind of an oh no, oh crap, hit the return to home button mode. These two modes, 150 and 50, are not a frequency in the sense that the radio is operating at 900 megahertz. It's not a control frequency. It's actually the number of times per second that the radio and the receiver are communicating with each other. So 150 hertz would be 1/150th of a second. That's the number of times per second that it's communicating with the receiver, and the receiver is talking back to the radio. And 50 hertz mode would be 1/50th of a second. So basically 50 times a second, it's going to communicate with the radio and with the receiver. And that's, if you look at that, 150 is 3 times more than 50. Well, that's why Crossfire is using the 100 to 300% scale for 150 hertz mode, and it's using 0 to 100% for the 50 hertz mode. Now, you can tell your radio to force 50 hertz mode, and it will never use 100 to 300% for the link quality item in your OSD. It will only ever operate at a 50 hertz frequency or communicate with the receiver, and the receiver talk back at a speed of 50 hertz. Okay. This is, again, I'm not saying that the receiver is sending out 900 megahertz signal and 150 signal and 50. It's sending 900 megahertz at a frequency of 150 hertz or 50 hertz. Hopefully that makes sense. So 100 to 300% is telling you that some percentage of those packets is happening, 1/150th of a second at that speed. And then 0 to 100% link quality, the protocol is changing. It's becoming much more robust. It's making sure that I am sending all of my sensor data, my stick commands, my GPS, my battery voltage, my consumed milliamp hour, longitude, latitude, airspeed, all of those things, link quality, RSSI, SNR. It's sending all of those things in a more robust packet. So it's taking a third more time, sorry, 3 times, let me back that up. It's communicating a third less to make sure that the information it's sending is the best possible quality and the most robust. So that's the difference between 150 hertz and 50 hertz. Now, RSSI, I've talked with my friends, and we're not really sure how the Crossfire system is using RSSI to allow us to make an informed decision or to tell the radio to do this or to do that. So in general, just ignore it. And then finally, signal to noise ratio, SNR. You can actually run down to around minus 13 dB according to the Crossfire manual. Now, I think that's probably a best case scenario. And in fact, if you have a TVS EBO or a TBS Power Cube or something like that, it will most likely flash on the screen low SNR around 0 to 2 dB of SNR, and it's either then going to bump up the power or it's going to change the operating mode that it's in, the transmission mode from 150 to 50. Assuming you have dynamic power, it'll bump up the power rating as well, and it will only go below 0 or maybe just a couple negative dB, until it makes that change. So anyways, hopefully that clears up some other questions that people might have. So let's roll on here. All right, so we're on 10 milliwatts. We're going 300% link quality, okay? Let's pay attention here. Up, let's pause. Did you catch that? So as we're looking at the power output and the link quality, you'll notice it's no longer at 10 milliwatts, it's at 100 milliwatts. So let me back up just a little bit here, right to where it changes. Okay, so 10 milliwatts, 300%. Let's move it. Boom. 100 milliwatt. What happened there? Well, the signal to noise ratio has changed, and the transmitter is looking at how quickly that signal to noise ratio is changing, and it's saying, the pilot is going away from me at a pretty fast speed. So let's bump up the power to be safe, to keep us in that 150 hertz mode. And so the link quality stayed above 100, so we're at 294 here, and 100 milliwatts, and so dynamic power is kicking in. Okay, and if you have your dynamic power set at 500 milliwatts or 1 watt, it will shoot straight to that max value. It will not go into the incremental steps. It will go straight to whatever your max power is for your dynamic power output to keep that link quality. All right, so let's hit play. Pay attention to these values as we go towards this building. Still above 100. Boom, right there. Did you see it change? It went from in the hundreds to 56%. All right, let me back up to 56. Here we go. So 56, you're at 100 milliwatts, 56%. Okay. So again, signal noise ratio has changed briefly. And what it's going to do is, if you see this, don't freak out, because let me hit play real quick, and immediately you'll see it jump back up to 100. So while this is playing, you'll notice that, my power output is at max. I'm at 100%. All right, so I've turned around, and let's pause right there. Look what just happened to the power output. It's now at 25 milliwatts. All right, so let me back up just a touch. Right here. All right, 100 milliwatts, 100% link quality. Because I'm kind of hanging out in this space, there's probably some kind of an algorithm inside the transmitter that said, okay, his rate of change of his signal to noise ratio isn't really changing that much, so he must not be going away. So after some time constant elapse, I'm assuming, this is just me guessing, the transmitter says, okay, we don't have to crank out 100 milliwatts here max power. Let's drop back down to 25. All right, so you can see here 25 milliwatts. And I'm just hovering over top of this building just to show you what the transmitter is doing. Now, what does this mean? So I've gone far away, right? Theoretically, or just, in this example, I've gone far away. My power output skyrocketed to its maximum to keep the link quality in 150 hertz mode. Then, once I got to a point to where it couldn't keep that up anymore, because either I've hit my max power output, or at least I've hit my maximum set power output, it says, okay, well, the signal noise ratio is changing, and it's continuing to change. I can't go any higher in power, so let me change modes from 150 hertz to 50 hertz. What that does is, because lower frequencies can travel farther than higher frequencies, is it allows it to eventually reduce the output power while maintaining good link quality. And so when it changes from the 300% scale to 100% scale, that's a good indication that your mode has changed. And as you continue to fly, you will see a couple things. You'll see your power output stabilize. So, let's say you got 100 milliwatts set, you jump to mode 2 with 50 hertz mode. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to turn around. I'm at max power and I'm at 50 hertz mode. No, you don't. Watch your RSSI at that point, or excuse me, watch your link quality at that point. It'll stay right at 100. And in fact, let this play for just a moment here. There it is right there. So 1 dB, signal to noise ratio. You'll notice, as I mentioned, once the transmitter kind of figures out that, okay, I'm in 50 hertz mode and my signal to noise ratio isn't really changing a whole lot, I'm going to drop power back down to 25 milliwatts. And if I had kept going, it wasn't far enough away, it may have even gone down as far as 10 milliwatts, depending on the conditions, how I've got everything set up. I've seen it happen, but it didn't happen here. But it did drop to 25 milliwatts. Now, as I just kind of circle about here, you see SNR pop up, and if you're not accustomed to the system and you haven't trained yourself to understand it, if you see 100% link quality and SNR of 1 dB at 25 milliwatts, you might think, oh my gosh, I have to turn around, I'm about to crash, right? No, your link quality is at 100%. Your power output is not at its maximum. So what's going to happen is if I continue to fly further away from myself, my power output, once SNR hits 0, would have jumped up to maximum, right? Now again, if I'd set 500, it would have gone straight to 500. And then as it settled down, it probably would have dropped back down to 100. And then if it could, lower. And that's how the system works. It will, continue to make sure that you're getting the best possible signal to noise ratio by adjusting the power output or the mode, and it will step it back down as you come closer. So let me hit play again, and we'll just watch what happens to these values. Okay, so I'm turning around now. Did you see that? Let me pause right here. So 10 milliwatts, a signal to noise ratio of 2. Because I was just hanging out and the signal to noise ratio wasn't changing that drastically, at 100% link quality, the transmitter decided, okay, I don't need 25 milliwatts. I can go back down to 10. This is what dynamic power does. All right, we're gonna let this play and head back in. I'm gonna come in behind these trees. The idea is that maybe I can get my power output to jump back up to 25. Spoiler alert, it doesn't happen. Crossfire shoots right through all that moisture and all those leaves. So consequently, that's one of the reasons why your VTX breaks up just like that sometimes, is there's moisture in all of those leaves, and it doesn't like moisture. It's hard for the signal to get through. All right, rolling up closer to myself, I'm back here by the stand of trees that we're approaching. And you'll see that SNR, it's trying to decide whether or not it wants to change mode, really, is what it's doing. It's at its lowest power. SNR is jumping around. It's trying to figure out what's going on. And it's going to stabilize. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to try to hover for the purpose of this video, just to see if I can get the link quality to change from the 100% scale to the 300% scale, which will tell me, the pilot, that I have changed from 50 hertz mode to 150 hertz mode. So I'm hovering, I'm watching these numbers, and truthfully, it doesn't work. And so you'll see me in a moment. I'll take a turn here, and I'll start coming back to the tree. I realize I'm just kind of drifting, and it's not working. So, all right, well, let's go back to the tree then. Just come on back in, because I know as soon as I get closer and swamp the receiver, it'll jump. All right, right there. 10 milliwatts, 300%. So the transmitter has decided that the signal to noise ratio and the RSSI of the antennas is such that it can change back to mode 2. Now, it takes a lot of time for the transmitter to decide that it's comfortable being in mode 2, because otherwise, if you were pretty far out and it decided it wanted to change, and you were at a point where your max power cap would prevent you from getting the signal to noise ratio that it really needs to be an effective, efficient link, you might actually drop your quad out of the sky. So it errs on the side of caution. So anyway, when you take all of this information and you put it together, you can begin to train yourself, teach yourself exactly what it is that your Crossfire system is trying to tell you as you fly far away. Now, My recommendation would be that if you're intending to go far, and by far I mean you want to push out beyond a mile, right? And even half a mile, right? There's a whole school of thought and a mindset you have to have if you're doing anything beyond like park flying or in the woods or office park or something like that, right? If you're going to push range and go really beyond line of sight, or visual line of sight at least, unaided line of sight, there's a whole bunch of things you need to pay attention to and be aware of and plan for. And one of them, in my opinion, is you need to have a whole lot more than just your RSSI or your link quality showing on your OSD. You need to have the power output and the link quality, the antenna RSSI, and the signal to noise ratio. You need to have these items at your disposal because they are a very quick diagnostic as to how stable your link is. And once you begin to understand what the Crossfire system is doing, you can push range in a safe way, right? You can send it out without really worrying if you're getting sketchy. Now, if you start getting out to your max power output, you're in 50 hertz mode, at max power, and your RSSI, your link quality is at 100, but you're beginning to see the signal to noise ratio begin to creep up and be stable, man, you really need to pay attention there. Now, you can go for a ways at a signal to noise ratio at max power and 50 hertz mode of like 2 or 3 for quite a while before your link quality will begin to actually get below 95. And as it starts to get to like 80, man, you really better turn around at that point because you're at the limit. And even turning the quad and slightly changing antenna orientation may be enough to be a problem. So all of that to say, hopefully this has been informative for you to try to teach you about all the different icons and bits of information that the Crossfire system uses to keep that ultra crisp, stable link that we love so much. So I hope you've appreciated this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed before, if you don't mind, hit subscribe. I like to post videos like this, and I like to post some more artistic styled videos that we all, as pilots at least, hopefully like to see. And so welcome to the channel. If you're new, if you're coming back, thanks for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.